there is a policy that prevents the facts from being shared, what is it?
I will refer to my attorney at this point.
If there's a law preventing, and you've all seen the questions that are in the petition, I believe they're fair questions, and I don't believe they put anybody at risk. And I don't think any of this social media outcry would have happened if we had just a few of the facts. And instead we got nothing, and still to this day, I couldn't tell you why it happened, you know, if it was a threat or if it wasn't a threat. There's just no information still. So if the police do want to get involved, I think that would be great. I mean, the more people and the right players to answer these questions, that I guess that's what we're asking for. Like, we just have all these questions and nobody's answering them.
Well, you've already identified some of the concerns. Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, New Jersey Administrative Code, as well as general legal principles which provide that districts can be subject to tremendous liability for violating the confidentiality of pupils. This matter involved a specific pupil. We are not in a position where we can really provide any public information about an individual pupil, which makes it very frustrating for the public and frustrating for the district. But yes, you are, because you're asking for communication about what happened in this case. But we cannot communicate anything that would in any way imply or infer what is happening. We have protocols in place. Those protocols are very, very stringently designed to ensure that any pupil who is determined to be a potential threat and is identified as that is not permitted to return until we're assured by medical professionals that they're not.
The questions in the petition, have you yourself read through them?
I have.
So by law, you're telling me you cannot answer any of those questions?
We cannot answer anything that deals with a specific pupil, and since we're here tonight essentially as a result of a specific incident, anything we would be saying tonight would be connected to that. There certainly can be discussions about communications and how we communicate with our parents. Those are legitimate topics for discussion.
So these questions will remain unanswered by law?
By certain components of those questions will, especially what happened in a particular incident, yes. We are not going to comment on a particular incident. If there is to be a meeting, and Mrs. Flynn identified that these are more productive typically with smaller groups
I disagree with that.
in terms of having a discussion.
Crisis intervention and prevention. After something happens, it's in many districts, you hold something. I mean, you initiate having a meeting to address the public. If we sat there in a room with a bunch of people and it was just us, we would then be going and divulging this information, disseminating all the information, and then here we are, the middlemen.
Well, the proposal that Dr. McGarry made was to have a smaller group meet to discuss planning for a town meeting. And again, there are certain topics we would be able to talk about, but many that we would not. Similarly, security plans. I mean, generally, security plans are kept confidential. We're not going to distribute to the public what we do in terms of how we protect our students and our facilities and our staff.
Yeah, and I don't think we asked anything about the security plan.
But what you're asking is veering into those topics, and it's very hard to have general discussions without getting into those subjects. So it's a challenge for both parties. I'm not saying it can't occur, but there are significant legal challenges in terms of how one addresses those, and that's what's occurring here.
Okay, so then can we commit to scheduling a meeting to address the questions that you can answer them the best that you know how, so that we can at least have parents in here?
And I think that's what Dr. McGarry was proposing in terms of setting up, in essence, a pre-meeting to talk about some of that.
Well, it's a yes or no answer, I guess. Can we do better at clarifying some of the facts surrounding the incident?
No. There will be no further clarification of that incident.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sylvia Sojourn again. I just want to clarify something about the meeting that was proposed to happen today at 5 p.m. On his email dated December 10th, Dr. McGarry said, Board President Vicky Flynn, and I'm quoting here, Board President Vicky Flynn and I can meet with you, meaning Kai Collins and myself, on December 19th at 5 p.m. Now, Ms. Flynn, when you say that this meeting was offered to our whole group, and yes, in your email you say, if your group is not planning to attend, please let Dr. McGarry know. This is, very vague, and this is very open to interpretation. And at this time, I have all the reasons to think that this is kind of, intentionally vague. I'm sorry to say this, but if there was miscommunication between you and Dr. McGarry about who would be attending this meeting, all 173 of us, or just me and Kai Collins, you didn't communicate amongst yourselves. That is sad. And I'm disappointed.
and I would disagree wholeheartedly. I'm sorry you read it that way, but I was implementing the direction given to me by, there was a lot of communication. We did meet as a community relations committee, and I complied with the instructions that Dr. McGarry did with the communication relations committee. We do have an open dialogue. We always talk about this. It's a very important topic, and we want to make sure we don't veer off in a direction. It's very important for us to all stay on point, on message, on all of these things, because the worst thing that could happen is false information getting out into the public on anything on this shore.
And for the record, I want to clarify that when you use the word... For the record, I want to clarify once again that when you use the word that your group, you did not mean all 173 of us.
I quite honestly, I didn't, and everyone here on this committee knows, you could have brought as many people as you want, in my opinion.
No,
But
Dr. McGarry did not mention that in his email.
That's fine.
He said it's for you and Ms. Kai Collins.
But,
So,
and I said you could bring...
No.
That's fine. We can have a disagreement on that. I'm so sorry, but that's, everyone knows, and I think the committee understands, I would have listened to whomever would have come.
The intent was to open it up to whoever. We didn't know whether there was a spokesperson or the entire group. And the instruction or the intent was to have it open to everyone. So I think that I would recommend, if you want to have that meeting and open it up to the people that signed the petition. That's what we said. So I would I'm hoping you're going to address that.
Hi, Joe Siaka, 7 Mile Division. Good evening. I understand the privacy of the children. So we have one child that's doing something threatening our whole high school community. 1 for 1,000. The chaos, I've spoken to teachers, other people that were in the building. Teachers didn't know what was going on. Children did not know what was going on. My kids called me twice, please Dad, sign us out. The woman, I don't remember her name, that signs the kids out, Mrs. B. She had a line of kids trying to sign out of school because of the fear, commotion, chaos that was in the school. Terrible job. Secondly, we just found out now that we could have this meeting, but there's been no response from the Board of Education or Dr. McGarry to say, let's have a meeting. I know you can't answer all the things, we get that. But if we're complacent, one of our children, Mrs. Flynn, Mr. Hammer, Mr. Emirati, Mr. Wall, Ms. Collins, Ms. Briamonti, Ms. Lou, one of our children ends up in a bad situation. We're all responsible as a community, and this is not the parents of Homedale coming up against the board. We're all together. We need to forget about who's right and who's wrong and do what's right for our children. Our children are paramount in this school and in the world. And everybody that sits at a desk that wants to make some kind of decision, if it's not thinking of the children's interests first and foremost, then you don't belong in the chair. We should have a meeting. We should have collaboration between the families, the school system. I witnessed something the other night, 2 days after the situation. I don't want to repeat it. It's terrible because kids are wicked. What I heard them say to the child that I happened to be in an area where this child was, I was just appalled. I turned around and told the kids, you gotta be kidding me. You want to get smacked in the head? You don't egg anybody on. Facebook is killing our children. Truth of the matter here is this. We are all parents here. That's why you're on the board, to represent our children. Not your agenda, not where you want to be politically, not who you think you are egotistically. Help our children. And if you can't say, well, Mr. Siaka is right in what he's saying. Think about it for the next 2 days. Because my kids called me 2 days in a row. Well, I'm trying to earn a living. I want to know my kids are safe. I want to know that they're safe. They're in a place where there's a lockdown, there's something. The kid has been removed. I don't need to know his name, but something saying, look, this is going on, the person's been removed. The end. But there's one affecting 1,000.
Jay Anello, 18 Ladder Drive. I'd just like to reiterate that my daughter Skylar, who many of you know, is not afraid of anything, and she was very shaken up by this. I got texts, I got phone calls. I know many of her friends who are more confident than her felt the same way. I do respect the privacy and concern of this student. I do think that did outweigh the benefit of possibly hundreds of students and the damage that was done to them. And I just want to reiterate again in my letter, this was a very serious situation that affected a lot of kids, and I hope as you go forward, you keep that in mind every day. My question is a basic question. It may be buried in the policies. I don't know. If you have a troubled student that makes threats, what is the process? Who makes the decision that they come in? Is it just the psychologist? Is it that they come back to school and when they come back to school? Is it a psychologist? Is it Dr. McGarry and the psychologist? Is it the police department, Dr. McGarry? What weighting makes the decision that this person is coming back to school? Can you tell us that? Whether it's any person, any kid, A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
It's a very fact-specific answer. And you apply the policy and the procedures in place and code of conduct accordingly.
That's accurate. I mean, Dr. McGarry ultimately will make that determination in consultation with medical professionals typically.
And law enforcement.
Law enforcement. It's a mutual cooperative. And each one depends on the facts of the situation.
We're very fortunate to have in our district, and I want to comment on the fact that whether or not we as a board are concerned about security. This board is like laser focused on security through the years, as is our staff. I mean, our staff members, every time you hear about something going on in a high school, these unfortunate incidents, I mean, these people live that day in, day out. They're scared too. I mean, these are the people that would do anything for our children. We as board members, all we can do is unfortunately just adopt policies, ensure it's overseeing, and that's what we're doing. And we get constant reports from Dr. McGarry and lots of communications about what's going on. It's an unfortunate and frustrating and sad and maddening time to be living and sending your kids to school. So, and we all have kids in school, and I understand your frustrations and fear. That said, in Homedale, we have the wonderful Homedale Police Department supporting us. We had, the one day that all this was circulating, there was 4 police officers in our high school that day, 2 here, one at Wood Village and one in New Hill. There's not many school districts in this state that have their schools that well protected. And we as a school district, we had to build a budget to be able to support that. You understand that our budget pays for that. This is not, we're not getting money from the state.
Maybe a little of that pilot money that's going to be coming will come.
Maybe, Jay. I mean, I'll give you a topic for discussion. But, we as a board, built a budget to support that for our students and also for our staff, for everyone involved, and for the parents, so that you all have peace of mind. What else do we do? I mean, over the years, there's been a lot of security enhancements made throughout these buildings. Year to year, the budget, it's top. And the Homedale 2020, during that whole discussion, security was top. We had to figure out ways to influence when we're doing these buildings, what other security measures can we make to make this I think the word is harder target. Is that right?
Harder.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. It's a constant discussion. Constant. Since I've been on the board and before I was on the board, and it will continue. I know it will. I know that doesn't satisfy everyone's concerns, but we're doing everything we can to create a safe environment. We don't want kids to be afraid in this district. And we really just want them to come here and learn and have fun and I wish they didn't have to live in the world that they're living in right now, but this is the world we're living in, that a district like this has to take as many measures as we can to create a safe, that type of environment.
The only other thing I'll say is a suggestion. I'm sure you have auditoriums and settings where you tell the kids you can't bully, you can't do this, you can't do that. I think after this situation, maybe when the dust settles, we leave a little space. We have the police department come in. We have psychologists come in. We sit the kids down in the auditorium and say, you cannot say these things. And oh, by the way, because I know in this incident firsthand, there were reports of a month ago of what the student was saying to people. But the kids didn't want to talk about it coming home from Great Adventure during Fright Fest. And so this situation was festering for a while. These other kids should have come forward and reported it, and we might not even have this situation here right now. I think you need to convene conferences or auditorium settings with the police department and say, by the way, if you say this, you're going to get thrown out of school, possibly expelled permanently. And oh, by the way, if you don't report it, there's going to be consequences if down the road there was evidence that you were in a car coming home from Great Adventure and you heard these things. So I would strongly encourage you guys to sit these kids down and make this much more serious. Thank you.
Yeah, but I was going to shout out to you. Because the numerous number of emails that I've received since December 6th, including one from Mrs. Singer, who is our president of our high school PTSA, and one of the ideas she had was around sort of a very well-structured set of meetings happening at the same time. And so, as I said this weekend, I'm taking all of that in terms of trying to formulate the best response. And as Jay said just now, allowing some space in between to let the emotion around what happened calm down a bit so that we can all look at this with a really clear lens. So thank you for your email, and thank everybody for their emails.
You're welcome, and I wasn't writing as president of the PTSO, just want to make that clear, because we did not meet and discuss this whole issue. I was writing as a parent, and not as a parent who's, I have 2 children in the high school. I was lucky neither of them were upset by the situation. They didn't even come home and tell me. So, but I am here because I do want to bring up that all these laws we're talking about were in effect at the time of the swatting incident. And we did have.
Oh, I'll give you the distinction, Barbara Singer.
A public forum at that time that was so beneficial to the community for several reasons. Because even though a lot of the specifics couldn't be discussed as parents wanted at that time, the law enforcement personnel who were there were the investigators in the situation, and they so strongly even spoke to the parents about not being on social media. That's another, we have to look at this from all directions as to what the parents are doing, what the school's doing, and what the kids are doing. So all that was kind of handled at that meeting, and like a lot of this, you're answering questions tonight, which is great, but it's 10 o'clock and the town's not here. So I think it needs to be done at a time when more of the town can attend and hear these responses that they need to hear.
They get to hear me on recording, and I'm
that's
being
not
taped now.
realistic.
I'm standing in front of them.
It's not realistic.
No, Scott's taping us.
I appreciate
You told me
it.
last time I was looking down too much. I've been trying to look up for this meeting. Oh, there you are, Scott. Hello.
You got 2 cameras.
2 cameras, okay.
So if I may, we also had a really constructive town hall meeting last March, February, March, right
Yes,
after
I attended
Parkland. That's some of the things that we've been doing this year were a direct result of conversations had at that time. Our class 3 officers wouldn't be in our schools today had we not gotten some feedback from parents in that town hall meeting around sort of that the community wanted that. So.
And PTSO had 2 meetings this year, one of which Officer Martin was at, and answering questions. So I feel like as a district, we are providing opportunities for parents to ask these questions.
But the difference was, as I think as Mrs. Flynn wanted to point out, the difference between talking after Parkland last year and the difference about talking after the swatting events, it didn't involve a student. And that's what makes this very different.
Right, so without getting into that, we're just more sticking to the general policies and giving the parents an opportunity to
come and get other questions answered, so that when they get such an email, like when I got the email, I didn't panic because I attend all these meetings and I'm aware of what the school has going on. And I think the more we can educate our parents as to what is being done, and I know you can't tell them everything, that helps defray some of this reaction. So that's why I think this public meeting should be held for these other reasons. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
One last thing.
Lee Myers, Pine Valley Court. I look at this from a slightly different perspective. As you may be able to tell, I'm actually not from this part of town. My wife and I chose when we came to this country to move to Honda. We came here because the reputation of the town, the reputation of the school, we based everything around the school. I was working in Manhattan. We came to Honda. Yeah, I lived with the hour journey. It didn't matter. Parents want to know. We understand there are restrictions. In my country, this wouldn't be happening like that. But that's a bigger debate. The key thing for us was you're looking after the kids' safety, but the kids didn't know what was happening. The kids were afraid. It's been said by other people. My daughter was afraid. I'm very grateful for the education that my eldest daughter has had and my youngest daughter is having now. However, the lack of communication to them about what was going on, not specifically what was going on, but to help them not be afraid, to want to be able to go to school the following day knowing that they were safe. Their teachers didn't know. We spoke to teachers who didn't even know what was happening. And the other thing I just want to bring up, I've heard about more than one incident. I don't need to talk about the one incident with the Facebook picture or whatever that may be. There was more than one incident that was being rumored. Best things that you can do is quash the rumors. Let us know at least what is real and what isn't real in terms of a threat. Because otherwise, it does go like wildfire. And because of social media, it is exaggerated. All we want to know is that our children feel safe at school. They didn't. And that's the biggest thing for us.
Thank you.
One last thing, it has nothing to do with the current topic. I'm glad that I see a lot of renovations around the school, and it's pretty awesome. The new lights that we have up is fantastic. Because I feel like some of my money paid for some of that stuff. The lights have to be on at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and Sunday. Last night I came home at 2:15. I was out partying. And then I came home to the parkway, and I was actually on top of the Empire State Building, and I saw home building.
Make sure you find your way home, right? It says
So I
home.
don't know, does it have to be lit? I mean, I think the lights used to go off at one point, but they're on. They could be on all night. I'm too tired to stay up tonight to sit out there to see if they stay on all night.
We'll take a look at that at BGNS
But
and
it
report
looks
back to you.
beautiful, the work that we're doing for the kids.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to restate some of the things that other people said, or maybe give you my personal experience. My daughter started texting me, I think it was Thursday, the photos coming from school. She was terrified. She came home, no response from the school. It was like 4 o'clock. I had to start calling. Finally, we did get the email from Dr. McGarry, but I felt it was very content-free with regards to the photo I had seen. And she was afraid. She was just terrified. And I kept her home on Friday, mainly because I did not get the communication from the district with enough things to say what was really going on. I don't need the people's names, I don't need the details, but more than just, there's no threat. Because that just doesn't go with the photo I saw. And there was later releases by the police department that had some information in it and was reported by the patch. So you say you can't
say anything, but the patch is out there reporting on things going on. Our own police department reports facts. At least it's something that we know. And honestly, when I saw the police department report, I felt a little bit better because I got some information. So she's not completely happy going to school. It's getting better day by day as time goes on. There's no incidents, but I just want to restate the lack of communication makes us keep our kids at home. Like I'm relying on a 16-year-old and a photo to decide whether to send my kid to school. I'm going to err on the side of safety. So just appreciate more information. I know you can't give everything, you don't want everything, but more like what we had with the swatting incidents, or more what the police department can present to just make us feel it's okay. Otherwise, I'm looking at a photo and I'm terrified 16-year-old. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Debbie Brew, 15 Cindy Lane. We came here not to talk about any of that, but I'm going to just add my 2 cents anyway. I did not sign the petition, but it was for my own reasons. However, I have put myself in the people behind me's shoes in 3rd grade when we had the swatting incident. It was terrifying. I feel like maybe because, like Barbara said, some of us are more informed because I come to every meeting here, I come to TC meetings, I hear things that are going on. I feel confident always sending my children to school, and even when there is an incident like this, I feel my children are safe. I know that the school and the police department especially handles it the right way, but that's because of my experience. That's because I've been here too long, and I have too many kids in all different schools. And it took a long time to build up that confidence, but I do have that confidence, but I feel their pain so terribly that they are this scared. And I do think communication could be better. I wish communication was very confidently stated that your children are safe. There are reasons we cannot share with you these specifics, and here they are attached. I know we're expected to go find everything on our own, but it's nice sometimes to attach the tools that people need to understand better, and there won't be this fight all the time. I think people need to have the tools to understand. It would make it a lot easier. I also think, and I'm always preaching this, use our student councils. Go to SAB. What would have made you feel better? What can we do better to make you kids feel better and feel safer? We should be using our student councils so much more. They are who we should be hearing from. Sometimes the parents are terrified, and that's going to come out on the kids, and that's natural. But we need to hear straight from the kids, I think. But the real reason I'm here is 2 things. One, I do want to also commend Mr. Ferraro, who was my teacher and my husband's teacher in 1978 and 79. I'm living with that. He was also my homeroom teacher. I was lucky enough to have him be my son's creative arts teacher and my daughter's honors English and creative arts teacher. He was the most favorite teacher I've ever had. Same with my husband, same with tons of the alumni, which I'm the one that posted it on the alumni site, and it's now up to 107 comments of reminiscing and the preposition song, which we all know, so thank you for singing it, so I would never. No, it was good. He'll love that. And thank you to Mr. Lockwood, who is directing Mr. Farrar to that page, so he can read all of those. Because what an amazing teacher. I found myself last year when my daughter was taking honors English, and he sent them out on a scavenger hunt for Route 34 sometime within the next week. Somebody find me the punctuation mistake on Route 34. And I'm driving my daughter in this big competition as one of Mr. Farrar's former students, and I'm going to find it before she does. So we found it. I'll leave it to all of you to now find. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Ferraro. It was the best experience I ever had in this school. And those desks are the same, and when I came back with my children and Mr. Ferraro was still here, I was elated. So thank you. But I came here to really thank Joe. And I knew I would lose my train of thought because I knew what was happening tonight, so I wrote it down. So, I just want to really take this opportunity to truly thank you, Joe Hammer, for your service on our Board of Education for the last 6 years. I have said this many times before, but I will never forget one of your first meetings at that end seat over there, and there was discussion amongst board members that was getting heated, and I vividly remember you looking out to the public and saying, well, what do the parents think? At that time, I had more company in the front row, and the whole front row gasped and smiled. This was during a time when parents were really not encouraged to attend meetings, let alone ask questions. And those in attendance knew at that moment you were going to change things for all of us, and you did. When you were later elected president, serving in 2016 and 2017, you were respected, you conducted meetings in a professional way, and most importantly, despite trying times and sometimes very tense discussions and disagreements among members, you were always respectful of fellow board members and always respectful of community members during public meetings, always. One of the funniest moments during your time here as a board member was during one of the excruciating calendar meetings. Much thought and angst were put into trying to add and take away days and all things that are considered during those meetings, and all were struggling to account for just one more day. The meeting was dismissed to continue the discussion the next meeting. It was announced at the next meeting that your son Ryan had shared with you the next day that the next year was actually a leap year, and there was our day and calendar approved. So thank you by proxy to your son for also giving his 2 cents. I will miss your presence here, Joe, for many reasons, but mostly for the respect you have always showed to the community, for not always accepting mediocre, and for questioning and challenging and demanding better. You asked many questions for your own understanding before questioning others during presentations. You understood we are not excellent all the time, and through these question and answer sessions tried to help diagnose the problem and help to find a solution for the benefit of all. You understood your responsibility as an elected board member, and I am proud to have voted for you every single time. I appreciated all you have done, all the hours you have given, and the true dedication to the Homedale District and foremost to the families. Your absence here will be a tremendous loss, and I hope you will consider coming back to see through the 2020 initiative you've worked so hard on from its inception. I'm happy to save a seat for you in the meantime, though. Thank you again. You have truly made a big difference here. The entire community has benefited from your involvement and will continue to benefit for years to come.
Thank you.
As an aside, next year has a leap year too, and it's accounted for on the calendar.
I worry Fernando to follow that, but I also was just here to say thank you to Joe Hammer for your many years of dedicated service to the Board of Education and to our schools and our children. Your unwavering integrity and dedication to learning has not gone unnoticed and is greatly appreciated by many families in the Homedale community. Thank you for your many hours of hard work on all the various new and important initiatives, most importantly the 2020 initiative. The board and school will benefit from your hard work on the initiative for years to come as the various projects come to fruition. Your departure from the board is a true loss for our children and the school district. I hope that your commitment to fairness and integrity continue to serve as a model to your colleagues on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close this session of the meeting. Thank you all for coming to honor Joe like that. I really appreciate it. At this time, we don't need any executive session, so Joe, did you want to say something?
We're going to have to close the meeting.
Okay, I just first wanted to wish everyone a happy holidays and a great new year. I want to thank the parents tonight for coming and for listening to us. I want to thank the staff for everything that they've done this year for us. I hope they have some time to rest and get ready for 2019. And I hope everyone also stays well this time of flu and life. And I also say we're going to miss you, Joe. I want to end the meeting like that. So I'll take a motion. You want to say it, Joe? I second.
Second.
You can use your gavel to end the meeting.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Joe.